as a taxpayer, we need to kind of look at that a little bit, is my opinion. And, you know, when it comes to MDARD, if Greg said you guys have dealt with them, I know the inspectors in the area quite well from each of the regions. They are great to work with, and they'll walk us through any process, especially being a government entity.
All right, so let's get back to picking one of these. I guess I'm not into paying $1,800 per mowing and trimming. I'm really thinking that the $1,500 is a little high compared to the $575s we got. Obviously, mowing is going to be probably our biggest thing, give or take. If we spray around the poles and fences, that's probably going to cost us at least once or twice a year, depending on what the weather does. And obviously, the mowing depends on what the weather does. If we mow it twice a week, or if we mow it once every other month. I mean, so we need to narrow this down a little bit.
1 second. Since we have the benefit of having one of the bidders here, Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
I see here that property guardian is Brian Wagner. Is that somebody you know? So there's no relation, you just happen to have the same last name. I just thought I'd ask.
That's my dad's cousin. He's way down on the list for me.
Okay.
No, that's no relation to me, what I know.
Okay, just thought I'd check.
No?
Open. What are you thinking?
I think I'd make a motion to go with Scott Wagner. He's actually local, so is another person, but I think overall, with what he's saying here, and I personally, I'm not a big chemical person. In fact, I'm not a chemical person. I have grandkids, I don't put nothing on my lawn. If I want to kill a dandelion, I go out and I pluck it. That's just me. And I don't think they spray the overall lawn.
No, we didn't.
They only spray certain areas, so.
We only sprayed around the poles and the fences. Yes, sir.
If you Google dandelions, people used to tear out their grass and plant dandelions. Those dandelions are all edible.
Yeah.
The root's edible, the leaves are edible, the yellow's edible, everything's edible on a dandelion. It's a natural thing.
It's probably not something that I got this big on even.
Right, but still, but you start killing dandelions, you're taking away bees, bumblebees, you know, the insects, the pollinators, you know, and that's what we're doing to ourselves is we're killing our pollinators. You talk to any beekeeper out there.
I'll second the motion.
Are any of these bidders township residents?
Two of them.
So two of them.
Mr. Wagner lives on
Maybe
River
three.
Road.
Oh, no, sorry.
This is
And
in my
no.
backyard.
Okay.
So is property guardian, it looks like.
A&M lives on Parish.
No, that's our address. They live on Yorkshire Drive in Bay City.
Bangor Township.
But property guardian says Dowd Road. That's
That's
called
Beaver-
Holland, but
Beaver
that's
Beaver.
it's just a little too far out. Okay.
Yeah, they have a bridge that's out on Dowd Road.
Oh,
That's
yeah, I
nice,
had it
isn't it?
photographically.
Yeah, and it's not marked.
Yeah, I noticed that Sunday.
So did I.
I think TJC is in Tuckahoe Township.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Drawn ball down.
Yeah. So I got a motion on the floor. And it's seconded for Scott Wagner. Please add to your thing that he's going to drag the fields for $90 an hour.
And of course, this is pending proof of insurance.
Right?
Yeah.
I've
Liability
already
insurance.
checked that. Already covered.
Awesome.
One question. Do you require $1 million policy or?
I have no idea.
It's workman's
Alls
comp.
alls I know is they require a policy, a workman's comp policy. They said workman's comp. They had never specified how much, so I don't know what.
Workers' comp is based on payroll or contract value, so,
Right.
and they do an annual audit, and then you pay accordingly, but you put something on deposit, and general liability is up to yourself. If you're cutting and a stone gets thrown, it probably would be a good idea to have at least $500,000.
That right there.
We turn it into
Oh,
our
he's
insurance
got it.
company, so.
It's a $1 million policy.
It's $1 million policy?
Is that workman's comp or liability?
You buy the liability and the workers' comp follows.
Says liability, general liability.
Because I know, like I say, our accident fund, they're requiring, well, a workman's comp policy. Either that or the township's gotta pay for it.
I thought if they had employees.
If you go
they
back,
had
'cause you got
to-
this
Well,
from
yeah, I
Randy.
know, but I asked them if they could just have the liability and they never answered, so.
What they do is, lawn care service contract, classification
Are you a sole proprietor? You have any employees?
you go back to them, they'll give you exactly what you need, because, having this and being the owner of the company, technically you're exempt from workers' comp, but as long as you have health care. As long as you have health care, if you go back, they'll give you a letter, because they'll try to force you to buy it, but you're not required by law.
See that too?
No,
I don't believe you.
After we decide who gets this, then we'll get this into the township.
I appreciate that.
So, the key though is if we don't have workman's comp, then we pay workman's comp.
We have to pay it.
not if you get a certificate from the insurance carrier, they cannot force you to
Right.
pay
And he would
workers'
be-
comp.
And then we
He
have to
would
send
get
it into the
contract
accident
with
fund.
And if he did get a certificate from them, he's already got the bulk policy. The workers' comp's the cheap half, it's based on his payroll.
Alright, so there's a motion on the floor, we'll do a roll call on this for, Scott Wagner's bid.
Petrol,
Yes,
Davidson,
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
DeShano,
Yes.
Platt.
Alright. So we looked into, putting an electronic sign out here. We've, had, Klender come out 3 or 4 times and redo some rivets trying to hold it so we can put the letters on out here. And, so we got 4 bids. 3 bids on putting up a sign. I did call Klender, so just so everybody understands that if we choose, and this is an example, option A, then we don't need B and C. So, but they have added all these options together to come up with the $24,000. So if we choose A, we don't need B and C. If we choose B, we don't need A and C. If we choose C, we don't need A and B. So technically, the least we would subtract from that $24,000 balance is about $14,000, give or take the dollars and cents difference. Otherwise, we got one from Barnett Sign out of Saginaw, or Barrett Sign out of Saginaw. And this one is 24,542. What's this 19 here? Price includes online training and support.
That's the matrix display.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 different displays here also, how it looks. New header sign, aluminum base, install. Now, I know Kalender is going to put the new sign inside the frame of our sign. Just so you know. Because I did speak with them, because they're here on M13 now. This was 25.5, and, sign image out of Saginaw
31.4.
is 31,400. All these signs are electronic. They all have remotes, so the information on the sign can be changed out of the computer here in the office.
So this is the first that I've heard about a problem with the sign. It wasn't mentioned previously. So you're saying that there's, if I heard you correctly, that there's a problem with the rivets, that it won't hold the letters in anymore? So
Well,
is that the letter panel that's a problem?
You slide the letters in on a track, and the track is riveted on, and about every 2-3 months, they come out here and add rivets to it to hold it together. We've had them out here a couple times this winter, put rivets in to hold those letters. And luckily, knock on wood, we've had some pretty good winds, and we haven't lost too many letters. So,
Is that sign able to be retrofitted with LED ballasts and LED bulbs rather than existing? I don't believe that's been done yet, has it?
no, that hasn't been done. These are LED bulbs,
I-
and it will be inside our sign.
No, I understand that. I'm just asking about the existing sign because I didn't have any information going into this about the existing sign. And this is obviously, especially the other two bids besides Plunder, that's a pretty significant amount of money for the sign.
Is this the same kind of sign like Bangor Township just put up? The LED display?
Yeah.
I think Monitor did as well.
Yeah, all the townships are going to it. It looks
Yeah.
nice. Monitors looks really nice where they got it.
The funding considerations for this, where were you gonna pull this money? Was this gonna be out of ARPA money?
There's $480,000 sitting here for ARPA money that we're working on to upgrade. We're thinking about upgrading the bathrooms and that in the hall, and the lighting. And I don't know if, there probably won't be enough to do much with the parking lot other than put a $10,000 sign out in front of the hall. I thought was well worth its money.
Well, I thought about it. My thought is, I think we should, consider getting some paint on the walls and making it look for $24,000 like someone might want to rent it. The inside of the hall, upgrade the lighting. For $24,000, you can upgrade the lights. You can paint the walls and possibly paint the outside. And with that $485,000 for maybe around $50,000-$60,000, we could upgrade the heat system and get rid of the dinosaurs hanging from the ceiling. We get done, and then it's like putting the horse behind the cart and not in front of the cart.
Well, and I would add to that list, just for clarity, when we had the floors stripped in the hall, which was quite an endeavor to get all those years of wax off the floors, they were unable to do the entrance. And at that point, the conversation was that because those tiles were loose and they couldn't actually strip them, that we needed to do something different as far as the flooring and the entrance. And as time has went by, nothing has happened with that. We don't have, from what I understand, a substantial amount of rentals for the hall. And considering that the utilities are costing us $1,000 a month for the hall to sit there, it would seem as though putting an investment into a revenue generator would make a lot more sense. Now, I would be open to having a discussion about putting a cherry on top, but I'm not really interested in putting a cherry all by itself in the bowl with a hall that has not been kept up for decades. So, I also think that, what kind of I drove down here at night a few nights ago, and the sign we have is pretty bright. Well, how is a new sign going to compare as far as how bright it's going to be? This is not a well-traveled road. It's only really going to get the attention of the people that always travel the road. So, I'm curious about how much light this sign is gonna put off and whether or not this is really the best location, especially if you have the ability to tap into it. What is the range on that? It seemed to me that being located in another area would actually put the messaging out there to more people, considering we have a road that has, like, what, 14,000 cars that travel on it a day? That's just a hop, skip, and a jump down the road. So, just some considerations.
Well, it's my opinion, we have to start somewhere. We had a contractor last year that, a general contractor was supposed to give me some bids on actually making the bathrooms handicap. We talked about putting some handicap doors in, and I haven't seen his bid yet, so, I know last year he got extremely busy, and I haven't been able to get a hold of him yet this spring, but
'Cause I think we could probably get away with upgrading the current bathrooms and add a handicap accessible / family bathroom to that hall, and it would be more financially feasible.
I don't think that this is our only area of concern. We've had a lot of discussion. I mean, we're talking about ARPA money. ARPA money is a one-time thing. We're not going to be getting a windfall every year. This is a one-time thing. So we need to make sure that we're spending that money in a way that's going to generate revenue for our township to continue growth in our township. So we need to be looking at the good investments, good ROI for that money that's a one-time thing. If we actually take the time to put maybe not a complete overhaul, but certainly a significant facelift on that hall, this is going to start to generate revenue. If we start looking into options to do better heating and cooling in that hall, then we should have significant savings from expenditures, since we're paying $12,000 a year, whether it's rented or not, for sitting there. In addition to that, we have had many conversations about the cemetery. The cemetery is in need of upgrades as well, and those haven't really come to fruition. People are not buying plots at the same clip that they used to. People are now doing cremation a lot more. We need to be jumping on that train so that we can generate revenue that way. One of the things we've discussed is a columbarium. Once that ARPA money is gone, that's a significant investment. If we were to invest some of the ARPA money in the cemetery, look at a columbarium, maybe look at making a nice area for people to enjoy the beauty of the cemetery, because it's a very nice cemetery. It's beautiful, beautiful area back there. If we actually put a little money into that, upgraded the chapel, we've been talking about that for a good amount of time here. It fell out of the 70s. Everything in there is drab brown. There's no natural light.
How
It
much
is.
is the Calabarium, do you know?
I've not checked recently, but I know.
I did know, but that was when I was elected almost 2.5 years ago,
Oh,
and they went up.
so what was it then?
At that time, we could have had a slab and a columbarium for 48 niches, which would allow 2 cremains per niche, and we could have did it for $20,000. The same thing today is gonna cost you all of $60,000, because everything's went up. Trucking, you go to buy a piece of granite, and the trucking on a single piece of granite is at $200. So when you all of a sudden say, bring in this columbarium with all these granite pieces, and you could possibly get one cheaper. There's a cemetery off of Broombow Road, Calvary out in Midland. They decided not to have granite. They decided to have brick. But go look at it. The bricks are crumbling. So now what do you do with all of the remains, and what do you do with the caskets that are inside of that mausoleum? So you have to go with something that is timeless, and that's granite. I mean, even the tree limbs that are falling in the cemetery on a regular basis. You can stand at the chapel and look up, and it's dead, it's dead, it's dead, and
I think you're going to be totally shocked that the $480,000 will probably be all spent in the hall once we get going on the hall.
I don't think that's a good investment, because people aren't renting them, they're renting barns.
I know, but we can't just let it sit there and fall apart.
Well, that's why painting, new windows, upgrade the heating, but it doesn't have to be upgraded at 125,000. You can put regular air-to-air units in, and we did it in the church. At the time, it was 30,000. Today, it would probably be 60,000. And those are actually more efficient. For each dollar you spend, you get $3 worth of heating/cooling when you get the proper units. But the moral is you can paint the building to start out with, inside and out, upgrade the lighting. We have the elephant in the room is asbestos floor tile and asbestos glue. And that's a big problem, because I've talked to the same flooring company that just did my church. And they said, well, you had a perfect case scenario, because you had a guy come in and grind it all away. But if you do that, they have to be licensed abatement people. And the minute you put the glue over the foyer, the very thing that we were told by the flooring people will happen. And those tiles will come up. And the moment the tiles come up, then you have to remove the glue from the concrete because of the asbestos in the glue. It's like we're caught both ways.
Alright,
So
so we're way out of whack here.
So I think that we can
We're way
summarize.
out of whack here as far as the sign.
The argument would be that there are a lot of big picture things that we as a board should be looking at, and what the ROI actually would be. If we were gonna have a sealed bid process for actually doing that, if we were gonna be looking at grant funding, which, I had told you guys about grant funding through USDA a year and a half ago, where they would actually help out with that type of a project, nothing has actually gotten off the ground. So while I applaud movement in that direction, it's a big picture view that we need for this to make sure that what we're investing is actually going to give us an ROI.
I think we just need to start at the outside. This is a $10,000 bill, and let's just.
this says 24,000.
He
I t-
explained that one. The other ones are higher though. Klender, he said
I
if you
said whatever
choose
option
A.
you picked, you don't need the other two options, and they've added them all together. So the worst case scenario would be subtracting 14,000 if we picked option C. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we take option A from Klender Design and put us a sign out front, and let's start from the outside and work in what people can see.
I'll support it.
This is a roll call vote.
Davison,
Yes.
Campbell,
No.
DeShano,
No,
Class,
Yes.
Petremo,
Yes.
All right. So from here, we're going to, this is a blight. We got two houses that the judge allowed us to get bids for cleaning. And I have heard from our zoning administrator, and he is going to get a third bid for us. So we're going to table the blight bids until he thinks he can have that third bid in here by the May meeting. But it's Wetters Road and Mara Drive for us to clean them up and then put it on their tax bills is what the judge has allowed. Tennis court painting. We got bids for paint. And who was the person gonna paint this? Okay, so my question is I'm assuming these colors are what you need you have a blueprint or something of the pickleball, and so you know what colors you gotta have.
Yes.
So we have a bid here from Sherwin-Williams on Wilder Road. Obviously, we are tax exempt, so we would have to take this tax off here, so it'd be $1,749.65. And I'm assuming that this Menards bill is something, no matter what paint company we pick, you still want this to fix the, it's $133 for crack, to fill the cracks in that, on the blacktop out there.
That went off sale on the 16th, so it'll be a little bit higher.
Do you have any idea when you got this what the sale offset was at all? Okay.